Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Jey Uso, shocked seeing his close friend with Solo Sikoa on WWE Raw. Huge potential betrayal. The wrestling world thrives on loyalty, alliances, and the constant looming threat of betrayal. In recent weeks, one particular storyline has captured the intrigue of WWE fans everywhere: the question of loyalty in the Bloodline. Ever since Jey Uso left the Bloodline, his relationship with his family has been tense and unpredictable. But this past Monday on WWE Raw, the story took an unexpected twist that left Jey and the WWE Universe in complete shock. The show began with an uncharacteristically intense atmosphere. Jey Uso was scheduled for a high-profile match later in the evening, but backstage footage showed him distracted and looking troubled. The reason? Earlier in the day, he'd heard rumors that one of his closest friends might be aligning with Solo Sikoa. Jey dismissed it as just gossip at first. He had a hard time believing that someone he trusted would join forces with Solo, a man who had been one of the key players in driving Jey out of the Bloodline in the first place. But in WWE, especially with the Bloodline involved, anything is possible. About halfway through the show, Jey was walking backstage, visibly tense, when he spotted Solo Sikoa talking to a familiar figure. The person's back was turned, but Jey instantly recognized his close friend, a fellow wrestler who had been a pillar of support for him since he stepped away from the Bloodline. Jey's face contorted with shock and disbelief as he watched the two share what seemed to be a friendly conversation. Solo and Jey's friend noticed him from a distance. Solo smirked, a knowing expression that hinted he was well aware of the impact this would have on his brother. Jey's friend, however, looked slightly uncomfortable, as if caught in a situation they hadn't quite anticipated. But as Jey moved closer, his friend didn't pull away. Instead, they stood beside Solo, which seemed to send a message of its own. To understand Jey's shock and hurt, you have to go back to the roots of his departure from the Bloodline. Jey Uso's loyalty to his family, particularly to Roman Reigns, had been unwavering for years. He'd gone through trials, endured brutal battles, and sacrificed personal relationships, all for the sake of the Bloodline. But eventually, Jey reached a breaking point. He was tired of Roman's manipulation and Solo's cold obedience. Breaking free had been his only option, but it wasn't without consequence. The friend in question had been there for Jey during his exit from the Bloodline. They trained together, shared the highs and lows of the wrestling world, and supported each other as they carved out their own paths in WWE. To see this friend now with Solo Sikoa, a man who represented everything Jey had tried to escape, felt like a betrayal on a deeply personal level. Jey, unable to hold back, confronted his friend right there in the hallway. The tension was palpable, and several backstage personnel suddenly moved to give them space, sensing the storm brewing. "What are you doing with him?" Jey's voice was low but fierce, carrying a weight that only someone betrayed could muster. His friend hesitated before responding. "Jey, it's not what you think. Solo and I were just talking." "Talking?" Jey scoffed. "I trusted you, man. I thought we were on the same side here. You know what I've been through with him and Roman." Solo, enjoying the drama, folded his arms and leaned casually against the wall. "Why so upset, Uso?" he said mockingly. "Not everyone has to pick your side." The remark stung. It was as if Solo was taunting him with the possibility that he might not be able to trust anyone, not even his closest friends. Jey's friend tried to explain, insisting there was no allegiance with Solo, but Jey wasn't convinced. He could see the hesitation, the unspoken words behind his friend's eyes, and it fueled his doubts. The exchange left Jey rattled. As he walked away, he began to question the trust he'd placed in those around him. He'd left the Bloodline to be his own man, but he hadn't realized how isolating that path could be. In the wrestling world, Friendships often dissolve in the face of opportunity or fear of crossing the more powerful forces, and no one was more powerful than the Bloodline. The scene with Solo and his friend haunted him throughout the evening. Even as he geared up for his match, he couldn't shake the image of his friend standing with his brother. The Bloodline's influence was pervasive. It corrupted those who got too close, making them pawns in Roman's grand scheme of domination. Jey couldn't help but wonder, was his friend just another victim of the Bloodline's manipulations, or had they willingly chosen to side with Solo and Roman? The WWE Universe was abuzz with speculation. Social media exploded with fans sharing their thoughts and theories. Was this a betrayal in the making, or was Jey's friend caught in a difficult situation, forced to keep the peace with both Jey and the Bloodline? The uncertainty left fans in suspense, and Jey's reaction only added fuel to the fire. Backstage segments showed Jey interacting with other wrestlers, clearly seeking advice or comfort but finding little reassurance. No one could truly understand the complexities of being part of the Bloodline and then stepping away. Jey was a lone warrior on a path of his own making, but moments like these made him realize how much he missed the solidarity he'd once had with his family, even if it had come at a high cost. As Raw came to a close, Jey was left standing alone in the ring after his match, visibly emotional and staring out into the crowd. He'd won the bout but lost a piece of himself in the process. The image of his friend with Solo was a wound that wouldn't heal easily. The WWE Universe could feel Jey's pain and uncertainty, and many wondered if this betrayal, real or perceived, would push him to return to the Bloodline in desperation or lead him to forge an entirely new path. The implications of this moment are huge. If Jey's friend does indeed align with Solo, it could open the door to an entirely new chapter in the Bloodline saga. The Bloodline's power may expand beyond family ties, pulling in allies from unexpected places, which would only make Roman Reigns' influence even more formidable. On the other hand, if Jey stands his ground and rejects his friend, it could set him up as a fierce lone wolf determined to take down the Bloodline on his own terms. Only time will tell if this was the beginning of a deep betrayal or a temporary misunderstanding. But one thing is clear, Jey Uso's journey is far from over, and the WWE Universe will be watching every step, every twist, and every showdown as he navigates a landscape filled with enemies, allies, and perhaps traitors.